All righty. Tate, we're live. Now,
Fantastic.
right when we click live, there's literally 5,000 people that immediately sign in to hang on my every word. Did you know that?
I thought it was 5.
Well, yeah, it could be 5. Sometimes 15. It's been interesting. Sometimes 5. As we get into the show a little bit, the second half usually gets in definitely into double digits, and a lot of people tune in after the fact. And but I do appreciate you being one of the 5 or the 15 or the 18 that often are here live. You're active with posting and commenting, which I really appreciate. Give me your 2 cents on the Remodeler Show. What do you like about it?
I like the variety of topics, and you jump around to different things in each show and keep it active and interesting, and you cover throughout a week a lot of different topics that we're interested in and as remodelers.
Nice. Give me something that you heard that you actually did something with.
Well, I've heard about 3 out of 4 of your shows. I'm trying to reduce my cycle time that you've talked about multiple times.
Tell the people what cycle time is.
Is from the first meeting to the contract stage. The time you take from meeting them to get them the quote, to get them design agreement, to get the sale made, and not letting that drag out too long.
I've been guilty of that. What's wrong with letting it drag on?
Well, you'll lose them for one thing. You're more likely to lose that client, and you probably set a bad precedent as to how the job could go. You might let the job go long too. But more than anything for me is I know I've lost quite a few clients that I didn't take enough time to get to quicker. I was too long to get to them.
Yeah, they might be talking to other folks. They might be unimpressed with your lack of follow through on it. So I'm glad I just wanted one example, and that's a great example, right? The longer that lasts, if you chart it, their level of excitement is probably kind of peaked when you're meeting with them, you're sharing all kinds of ideas, you're talking to them about the process, and then as those days go on, if there's not some good momentum and continued progress going, that excitement level can dwindle. And one of the things that I would just secondarily talk about related to cycle time is make sure that you book, and I think you talked about this when you went through the Remodel Your Sales Process class, if I remember correctly, is booking that next appointment before you leave the current appointment. Have you been doing that?
Just about always do that. I think that's pretty effective in making sure that they know kind of what to expect coming up, so they're not in the dark. I know a lot of clients that I've talked to just wonder what the whole process is like. They don't know what we know, and most of them haven't gone through any remodeling or not one in a long time. So
good.
It's
so no pressure, but Rob is saying because of you, this should be good. Rob's kind of like, when it's just Kyle, occasionally we find a golden nugget here or there. We just got to sift through 30 minutes of babbling. But with Tate here, this should be good. I haven't even introduced you. This is Tate Watson. This is the man, the myth, the legend from 850 Building Group. 850 is just the area code down in Florida.
That's right.
I like
Panhandle
that.
of Florida.
How did you arrive at that business name?
There's a lot of things here that use the 850, and we're across in 2 different counties, not the entire 850 area code, but I wanted something that wasn't my name, that might be sellable in the future and encompassed more than one specific thing. So I thought that was it was better than the name I had. So.
I like it. Cool. So I appreciate you kind of joining for today. We did this week and a half ago with a gentleman named Bram, where it's kind of just a live coaching call where you're able to ask some specific questions. I'm able to provide some stuff, and then people chime in like Michael just did. Totally agree, Tate. People want to feel wanted. I feel like there's a song in there. People want to. I feel like it's a play off of some lyrics.
I've heard it.
Yeah, and it's all about emotion. We sometimes forget that how much of the decision making that homeowners are making is based on emotion, is based on our excitement level, us wanting to work with their project. We mix that up. We put, they just care about price. No, There's so many different things that come even before that. So cool. So if I could do just kind of a quick introduction, I'll share what I know, Tate, and then you can maybe add some different things. And then we got 3 or 4 kind of areas of questions that we'll dig into. So I think it's helpful to kind of hear where you're at revenue wise and kind of what the business looks like. So I'll share a few things and you can add some color to it. But you've gone from 600,000. Was that 2 years ago?
2018, yeah.
2018, 600,000 in top line sales revenue in 2018, up to 1.7 in 2019. Somebody smart, do some calculation on that. That's a big growth, 600 to 1.7. This year, too much is what we calculate that at. You put in the numbers, you try to get the percentage, and the calculator just spits out too much. Tate, too fast, brother. And then this year, even with COVID, you're projecting 2.3 million, so continued growth. And you see how that can go up to 3 million next year, and you're on this trajectory. What was the biggest reason, or what really bumped you up from where you were up to that 600 to 1.7? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, October 2018, we had Hurricane Michael hit the county right next to me, Bay County, in the Panhandle, Florida.
Hang on, sorry, Tate. That's the song. I want you to want me. Yep, that's it. Michael says by Cheap Trick.
I remember that. We're all old enough to remember it.
Are we all old enough? Because I know the song because I'm kind of weirded with lyrics and I memorized them, but I don't know if I'm old enough to actually know when that came out.
I remember.
Okay. All right. So back to where you were.
Well, in 2018, Hurricane Michael hit Panama City area. I mainly work in the county to the west of there, but the damage was so extensive, and my wife's whole family lived in that area, and they had damaged homes. So I became their contractor to fix their homes, and immediately the neighbors, the other family members, the co-workers were begging for contractor. So I started putting homes back together from the storm, and I'm still doing that. Believe it or not, almost 2 years later, and there's still plenty of work to be had there. That's how I went from the 6 to 1.7.
And that 600, you were around that level for a number of years before that, just kind of running just a nice, solid, simple business, and then boom, we bumped up.
Yeah, that's right. Every once in a while, I'd do a million more. I do mostly remodels, do a custom house every year or two. When it comes my way, I don't seek them out anymore, but I will do them occasionally. But the work over in Bay County was tremendous. I'm still doing work in my original Walton County to the west, kitchen remodels, big remodel jobs, window replacements. I do a lot of whole house remodels. I've done a lot of major structural repairs from water intrusion damage, all kind of work that comes my way. I've done a lot of difficult specialty work.
I've got an important question. I have very rarely seen somebody with open bookshelves. You have actual open bookshelves behind you.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Usually they're like full of at least trinkets and stuff. Huh?
You mean with books on them?
Like turn around. You got open bookshelves. I never see that. People fill it with just stuff. But you're a man who keeps things nice and clean.
I actually have books.
You do have books over there. I see right over your right shoulder, Markup and Profit by Michael Stone.
That's a small portion of them.
Okay. All right, good enough. I saw some blank shelves, so I was surprised because they usually got pictures or stuff, but all right, rock and roll.
There's a few pictures back there.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Yeah. All right, cool. All right. So, and then out in the field, we've got, and just in the office, we've got an admin person who's helping you just with the administrative side. You have 3 guys in the field that are doing a lot of the work, but also doing a little bit of their time on project management. The majority of the work, you have trade partners, so you're subbing out a lot of that work, and then your wife is helping you on the marketing side. So $1.7 million business, 3 guys in the field, 1 admin person plus another part-time person, and that's it.
That's it.
Okay.
And I handle the sales, the estimating, 100% of both of those, probably 80% of project management. I did farm out my bookkeeping earlier this year. I was doing all of that too, but I got rid of about 90% of the bookkeeping,
Excellent.
which is a smart thing I finally did.
What pushed you to finally do that? Just something had to give?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it for a long time and didn't think I could employ anybody full time. And I still not, but I decided to explore farming it out to a remote bookkeeper. So it's a bookkeeper that lives near me, but she is responsible for it and farms out the bookkeeping remotely. And now we have all the software and we can connect with everything just fine. So it's fairly easy to do that. And it's working pretty well for
And
me.
I want people to hear that from a standpoint of you, Tate, you still are wearing too many hats. If you're going to continue to grow the business, you've got to continue to figure out how to hand off responsibility to others. And I think a lot of people need to hear that. And then secondly, wow, this is kind of weird. Bookkeeping, and she's not going to be here. Virtual, how's this going to work out? But what I heard was, I knew I needed to. I said, this might work, this might not work. And we've done it. And it's actually worked really well. So being open to new ideas, being open to different things, it's always going to be clunky when you start. But I think sometimes people get stuck on, it's just going to be easier for me to do it. I can't do things, have a full-time person do it. Get creative. There's so many resources and technology that allows us to do things that maybe we don't normally think to do. Okay. All right, good. So tell me, one other question. Michael wants some more. Can we reframe? How many projects does this dollar amount represent? Are we talking about producing 20 projects or 400? Your average job size is around 300,000.
Around 300, but they range from 100 to a million. Like we're working on $1 million project now. We just finished at 300. I've done them, finished another one earlier this year at about 100, another one at 200. So in a year's time, I probably won't do but 10 or 12 projects. Okay,
good. Tate, would you like me to sing the other lyric that I know from that song, or do we want to get into questions?
Go for as much of the song as you can remember.
Literally, I just know I want you to want me. I need you to need me. I'm begging you to want me. Is that what it is? I don't know. That's all I got. Didn't I see you cry? Oh, I know it all, actually. Didn't I? Okay. Anyways, I was really hoping you were going to say, Kyle, let's get into the questions, not make me. I was really banking on that. All right. So one of the questions that you threw out there was marketing to high-end, out-of-town vacation homeowners. Marketing to high-end. You just heard, people listening and your average job size ranging from 100K to $1 million, bigger projects. Out of town, second homes, vacation homeowners. These are not people that this is their primary home. So you have a very specific market that you're starting to cater towards, and that is, you would say, is your ideal client.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, they mostly live out of town. They have high-end vacation homes here. We're in a resort beach town, very small area, but just tons of really expensive properties that people have for vacation homes.
Okay, good. So let's talk about that, brainstorm some ideas. And where I start with that, and this is good kind of example for others, is instead of saying, well, you could try this tactic, you could try that tactic. One thing that I like is that you've got a little bit of a ideal client description, a specific area, specific type of homeowner, specific types of projects. We can't be all things to all people. So I like already that you've got something there, because when you have a more clear picture of who our ideal client is, it's going to be easier to attract the right clients. And it's also our marketing is going to repel certain clients. So where I like to also start is, what is currently working? You've got leads, you've got these projects. Tell me how these folks are finding you and where you're generating your leads from.
Well, those vacation homeowners are generally finding me by finding my website. Occasionally a realtor that they have used or know will refer me. A rental management company that they might use. Some of them, I know a couple of those people have referred big projects to me. That's usually where they come from.
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe a few Facebook inquiries.
Okay, and also just flat out referrals from homeowners, right?
Yes.
That's a big one. Okay, got it.
Definitely.
So when I hear, and then before I share a few other thoughts, any architects, um, anything on that front? Yes, realtors, which is a strategic partner. Any architects referring you? Or have you found that to be a
No,
source?
I haven't contacted any. It seems like all of my projects originate with me and not the architect.
Okay.
And they're looking, they live out of town. They don't know a local architect, and they're not interested in pursuing that. They're not even sure if they need one for their project. So they usually will contact the builder first and
Okay.
then see where to go
Okay.
from there.
Do you like realtor referrals? Has that worked out well?
Not so great. I would say it's not a big factor for me. Some of the realtors that I've had referrals from in the past, one of the first things they want to know is what's their fee.
Mm-hmm.
So, and,
Yeah.
and I don't do that. I don't ask for a fee. I wouldn't pay a fee for that. Uh, I believe in referring people to other good people,
Mm-hmm.
and shouldn't be a fee involved for that. But it's not a big thing with the realtors. They want to have a few contractors to refer people to, and a few of them have asked for that fee, and I've declined, and didn't see the customer either.
Okay, there you go. So one area that I think you can spend a little bit more time in is this area of strategic partners. Who else shares the same ideal client as we do? So yes, realtors come up. The reason I asked if you liked it or not is, sometimes I hear what you're saying of, they're asking for 3%, they're asking for 2%. I just don't like that. That's not how I roll. Architects, you find the wrong architect, they want to really control the process. They have a mindset that says, I'm going to refer this client of mine to 3 or 4 different builders and let the best man win, and go fight for it, gentlemen or ladies. But there's other architects, but the reason I'm going the strategic partner area is because you're catering towards a higher end client. And so often those bigger projects and the higher end clients are coming from referrals from just established relationships, trusted advisors. A lot of times that can be an architect. I would imagine that there's probably 4 or 5 or 6 architects that cater towards these bigger projects, these high-end projects, that with some know, like, and trust building, with some conversation with them, and figuring out ways that you can provide value to them. Over time, maybe there's 1 or 2 architects that you can develop a relationship with that can be a wonderful referral source for you. So one of the things I would kind of consider is, and maybe this could be, as your wife's taking on some marketing focus, I would love for her to have an action step of, research just the local architects, get a list of them going. Are we talking 10, 20, 30, 3? And maybe there's some, you see a list of that and you go, you know what, I should know that guy. Come to think of it, we did a project, 5 years ago, or this or that. So I would look into that. I would, also look into, when it comes to strategic partners, make a list of any strategic partner that has ever referred you in the past. When I have clients do that, what a lot of time happens is, you know what they did? Now that I think about it, now that I'm engaged in thinking about this, they did refer me that excellent project 2 years ago. Or, I haven't talked to them in a long time, or this or that. Chances are there's a list of 10, 12, 14 people that that are potential strategic partners, people that are already referring you, people that used to refer you, people that you met at a networking event that you want to get to know better, and a little bit of focused effort to doing some BLBs. You know what BLB stands for?
No.
Oh, well, I thought, as an astute follower of the Remodeler Show, BLB, breakfast, lunch, or beer.
Oh,
Breakfast, lunch, or beer. You remember that.
you have as many acronyms as a drill sergeant. So.
That is true. Are you a former military guy?
No, I'm not.
Okay, but no, that's true. It is probably the case. It's because acronyms, you can remember them easily. So that idea of there's some work to be done, or some fruit, I think, that can come from some focused effort on strategic partners. The other one that you mentioned of your website is producing. When I go to your website, it doesn't scream the resort town. It doesn't scream the second homeowners. It doesn't really pop out at me. If I'm in Colorado and I'm going to my second home, getting more examples, more obvious that this is our ideal client, a headline that says, and I'm just kind of brainstorming with you. Do you have your second home in fill in the blank, or maybe that's a blog post? We specialize in working with folks who might not live locally, but want a fantastic job done on their second home or their vacation property. I think there's more content and more obvious, whether that's social media, whether that's on your website, where you can really zero in on who this ideal client is. Any thoughts on that?
Well, you definitely noticed something that I'm working on. We're revamping that website. It's really a couple of years old, and it doesn't have all the emphasis I want it to have on those areas that we're trying to target. I still get a few leads from it.
Sure.
Because most people that go to my website go to other websites here locally, and I do have some information you can find on there that with pricing that most other websites and builders do not have.
Yeah.
So they all mention that to me is why they call me, that I've offered more information than anybody else. But you're right, my website's got a long way to go. I'm trying to improve
but when we ask this question, how do I market to high end out of town vacation homeowners? The website is a huge part of that. We don't know where they're going to be, but we know that if they're searching full remodel, kitchen remodel, city name, different, they could be in another state. So that's going to be a critical part of your marketing plan. So I'm glad you're already working on it. It's a never ending project, right? We're going to continue to work on it, but I would love for you to go a little bit more, push more chips in, go a little bit more all in on the message and making it very clear of who you serve. That way, when they see that, it just, oh, that's me. More focus on showing off the projects that you've done, telling a little bit of the story. Mary and Tom, live in Michigan, but they have a property down here. They found us through the website as they were searching for Is that your dog or my dog? That's your dog.
That's mine.
Okay. What's your dog's name?
Bonnie.
I think my dog might be outside actually. Anyways, all right.
Jeff
Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie. Okay. So strategic partners, how else do we market to high end? The website comes up very much to mind. Little things like, if you had more time on your hands looking at some of the homeowners association, maybe there's some specific marketing and some publications that you could look at. The other big thing is, how are we continually and consistently staying in touch with our previous clients? You hear me talk about that, a lot. How are you doing with staying in touch with these people that already know, like, and trust you, that refer you a lot? How do we stay in touch with them?
I'll talk to them probably every few months. Something comes up and I call them, or they text me. They follow me on social media. They respond to things. They're great clients. They're all referring every customer they can to me. So I've got major projects from these referrals from clients. We've gotten video testimonials that we've posted on social media, and they're pretty good ones, and we have 2 or 3 more to do. So that's working pretty good.
Good. Yeah. So continually, how else can we be consistent with that? That would be another thing that would be kind of high on the list. Let's kind of move on to the next question you asked, if that's cool.
Sure.
Okay. How do we keep a tight ship, maintain a good profit margin with fast growth? When you kind of think through the work that you want to do a couple of years from now, you personally, that you want to spend your days doing, what comes to your mind of what you really enjoy doing in the business?
I enjoy the sales part, interaction with the clients. I've always enjoyed the project management too. I've done every facet of it for so many years that I've learned to like most of it.
Yeah.
So
I didn't hear you say anything about estimating.
Well, that's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
I would love to hand that off, but that seems to be one of the toughest things to hand off.
Do you want to hand off the project management portion? Do you foresee needing to do that, or been thinking about that?
I'd like to hand off a lot more of it, so I could work on the business instead of in it so much. Kind of keep my hand on it, but not do 80% of it. Maybe.
Is there one of your 3 guys in the field that already kind of naturally is inclined towards that, who you could see being more of a full-time project manager?
Not yet.
Okay.
They don't have the experience to do that yet. I'm working on training and trying to bring one or two of them along more every month. I think at some point in the next few months, I'm gonna put one of them into more full-time project management.
Okay. So we're talking a few months. Like you see some good potential in one of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a couple of them definitely can do that.
Okay. And that wasn't a few years. That was even a few months. You can foresee putting one of them in that spot.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that's your next move, or do you have something else in mind? As far as
I do think that's my next move that I'm closest to making to relieve some of my time.
Okay. I love it. My line of questioning there is just, I love to always hear is like, is there somebody internally that you already have in mind for that? If the answer was a strong no, that changes a little bit of the discussion of going, okay, we're going to need to find somebody versus, you know what, I've got somebody in mind that in the coming months, I think I can roll into that position. I would encourage you to have that conversation with them and say, as I look down the pipeline, 3 months, 6 months, whatever you feel comfortable with, I have in mind for you this position. I'd love to talk about it. What's your interest level now? Have you already talked to the person about it?
Yes, but not as full time, to do it a little part time, and I'm bringing them along ever so slowly. And, I need to pick that pace up. That's what I need to do.
Yeah. SMART goals,
mainly
right?
on me training more.
Yeah.
Training me more.
Yeah. So realizing, yes, you need to do more training, which takes more time, which you don't have a lot of right now, but that's the gateway to you being able to free up your time. Right. The idea of what you just said, I need to up the pace of that. If you have somebody in mind, I would encourage you to have a frank discussion with them, sit them down and have this discussion, say, this is what I'm thinking. What are your thoughts? What's your interest level? Sometimes when my clients do that, they hear somebody on the other end that goes, I appreciate it, but I like the position I'm in. I like to use my hands. So I'd be curious that. But if he's on board with it, now, like you just said, I need to pick up the pace. Let's start with the end in mind. When do you want him to be in this role? Is that a January 1? Is that a March 1, 2021? And then let's work backwards. What are the things that we need to have in place in order to do that? I would encourage you to do that because now we got a plan. Now we've got something more real. We can create some SMART goals around it. That's also going to help you be accountable to doing that training. When it's open-ended, when we don't have a game plan, that's when it just lingers and lingers, especially when we're busy. Right. So I think that's a very tangible thing that you can do. The other thing that often needs to happen coinciding with this is his role in the field is very important. Do you need to have another person hired to take his role before you feel confident and comfortable with moving him into another role? If that's the case, that also is something that needs to get moving, relatively soon as well.
True. I think that's in the back of my mind because if he did more project management, he'd be doing less of the other important things.
Yeah. And if you're smart, you're going to put him in that position and really let him excel at that. You're not going to have him do that thing plus still this other thing. If you're going to set him up for success, often what that looks like is you really disconnect him from what he's doing. Maybe there's a little bit of a weaning process on that and a step by step, but when you get him in that position, you've got to set him up for success and really set him up. You are the project manager. You're not 50% project manager plus still doing this and this. So those are some of the thoughts I have on that. I love it when a client says, I've got somebody in mind already, because it simplifies it a whole lot. So I'm excited for you about that. And what you said of, I need to accelerate this, you heard some of the thoughts about that of SMART goals, of let's start with the end in mind, let's have a discussion. You're a smart man, so you just memorized everything I said, or it might be good to just go and listen to this again of going, okay, that, and that, right? Yeah. But I'm excited. And you're right where I want your head of going, you know what, it's going to be hard to transition that, but it needs to happen. I need to do that in order to be able to take a breath, in order to work on the business more, in order to continue to grow this business. And I would agree that seems to be the smart next step that you need to take. That's going to help. That's going to help a ton. I'm excited for you. I'm
looking forward to the next year after that's done.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned pitfalls to avoid. One thing that sometimes happens, and this happens with new hires that you put in positions, it also happens with your existing team. You're not sitting down talking one-on-one with your employees nearly enough. That's a pitfall that I see oftentimes. So sitting down and having those one-on-one discussions and making sure that you're supporting them is a pitfall that I want you to avoid. Another one is, Vicky Suter talks about position agreements. How do you truly effectively hand off responsibilities? We want to make a very clear position agreement for this person that's going to step into this new role. What are they truly responsible for? So that's another pitfall that sometimes goes under. And then the other pitfall that came to my mind was we settle for a B minus, C plus employee. Hiring a project manager that is an A player that's really solid and good versus settling for somebody, that is a pitfall that when you're maybe a little bit, maybe this guy is your guy, but maybe as you think about it more and you think about the work he's going to be doing, he might not be the guy. So making sure that we hire solid A players, everything gets so much easier. Responsibility gets handed off so much easier when you're surrounding yourself with an excellent team versus an okay team. I just see that so often.
I agree with that. I've experienced that too.
Yeah, you've been through that. Cool. So what did you hear during this little remodeler show, Tate? What are some takeaways you have?
Marketing and ideas. I probably do need to make some more connections with a network with some architects, realtors, some other people who could really continually maybe send people that I'm looking for my way. I've kind of avoided in doing that. I haven't needed to for the most part, but I think long term it's important that I do that.
Absolutely. Good. And then what would be a takeaway from the other main area of your next hire and kind of moving in that direction?
Well, I need to get on the stick with my project manager and train and get them up to speed quicker so that I can turn loose of more things and do the more important company things that I'm comfortable doing to grow the business.
Make the plan and execute the plan. What does it mean to get on the stick with them?
That's just one of those old sayings that
as my granddad used to say, got to get on the stick with them.
Get on the stick. Get with it.
Get with it. Okay. I just never heard that phrase.
I'm from the South.
I hear you. That's why I asked, because I wanted to know. Now I know. I can use it. I can add it to my repertoire. Yeah, good. Some comments from the folks. Hire people who are smarter and better at stuff than yourself. We all know that. It's easier said than done, though. But when you ask, any pitfalls to avoid, that is a pitfall that we settle for less than the best. Hire A level all the time. Really like the pricing on your website. That's excellent. Somebody said, pay it forward. It can definitely build strong relationships for future projects. Not sure who that was, but we're talking about kind of the BLB side. We don't feel that paying a fee to a strategic partner is a bad thing if the project can lead to other projects. One of my clients recently who was adamantly against paying realtors for referrals, it was interesting because I've worked with him for years and years, and he surprised me recently and said, I've changed my tune on that. I'm actually doing that now because I see that by doing that, that's the way they work. We're not talking about anybody other than realtors. That's just how they get paid. That's how they work. And he's just more open to it. I said, well, you're baking that cost into the project. He said, no, I'm not. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to say, I'm going to pay you 3% on this. I'm going to pay you 2% on this. And he's going to see how it goes. Don't be romantic about what got us there. Meaning, that's a Gary Vee quote. Don't be romantic about the way you've always done it. Be open to change. Be open to evaluating different things. This person's doing that. And then I had another certain example. It looks like we've got some. Can you rap the song? Bailey knows that I've got rapping skills. Evidently, the song was in 1973. This, I'm guessing, is a link to the song. The beatings will cease when morale improves. Okay. All right. Cool.
I've heard that one.
Yeah. Cool. So, Tate, it was a pleasure. I'm glad. And my big goal with this show was, one, we got to make it entertaining for the people, which we did. 2, allows us to just get to know each other a little bit better. And 3, provide some value to you. And I think you've got some good takeaways from this time. So I'm happy.
You always provide value. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Cool. Lastly, if you guys are interested, we got some courses coming up this fall. Go to remodelersmasterclass.com. Tate, you sat through the Remodel Your Sales Process 8-week course. How would you describe your experience going through a course with me?
It was very excellent. I would definitely recommend it to anybody to take that sales course. And I know I've looked at your Remodelers Masterclass. There's some of that looks like what we covered in there, except a lot deeper dive in all those areas.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of even what we were talking about, the ideal client. You go to your website. I do kitchen and bath remodeling versus zeroing in and saying this is a specific problem. When we did the remodel your sales process, kind of goes from start to finish through. We definitely dug into charging for design and project development. But what I wanted to do this fall is take that little piece in October and just go really deep into that particular piece, and similar with some of the others. So cool. All right, my friend. Have a wonderful, productive rest of your Tuesday.
You too.
Take care. Thank you.